beautiful feeling to know your dreams will always be worth it. It's such a beautiful feeling to know your dreams will always be worth it.
$1 million dreams in the urn. So I ride or I live and learn. Get the blessings now, money earned. Don't do the usher, don't let it burn. Pointing pistol, snatching Jimmy Choo. Running streets, dodging GSU. Mama and granny been praying too. Living dreams, she can do it too. Money not the same unless the homies can hit. Dreaming at the same unless the homies commit. Yeah, buy the block, we don't want the lease. Frequent flights on our way to Greece. Got my daughter out the southeast. SD, that's still me. But I know it's still more.
Okay, cool. First of all, man, I just want to say, man, thank you, man. Congratulations, man, on receiving the award, man. On the behalf of Act Loud, on behalf of the people, man, we appreciate you donating your time, being here with us. We appreciate the great work that you do, man. Man, what's going on in Atlanta, man? What's going on with our Black folks out there, man, and our youth?
A lot of time, man, it's a lot of gun violence, you know what I mean? A lot of trauma that the youth be going through. The key to violence is addressing the trauma that exists within our communities.
Yeah.
The basic necessities, food, clothing, shelter. Spending time with them, getting to know who they is and what they are going through. You know what I mean? So we do a lot of that in the community, man, building a relationship with them, talking with them, let them know that their opinions and thoughts, goals and dreams matter. Let them know that they matter.
Teachers, and staff after school complain, about our young black men and our young Black girls, about them not paying attention in class and them behaving, their behavior at school. And a lot of times they don't recognize that a lot of these young men and women, they come to school and they ain't even had the proper meal in the morning. So they can't focus on what's going on in classes, stomach growling and stuff. What do you think about some of the things that they're teaching in the schools, you know what I'm saying, to actually get their attention?
We need, when we teach our youth, especially as Black people, New Africans, we have to design a curriculum that fits us, our narrative, our historical continuity. Because anytime we try to fit their narrative, we're gonna get the same results. Anytime we try to numb that trauma doesn't exist, like mental health in our community doesn't exist, we can no longer continue to ignore the social ills that exist within our community due to our historical continuity or trauma that we have received from the enslavement all the way up to now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, I definitely agree. I know one thing, I remember I was listening to Dr. Amos Wilson, and he talked about how a black student and a white student could be in the same classroom, but they're literally learning two different things from the same instructor.
Yes.
I also believe that a lot of times that with the education system, it's difficult. Everything is taught from a perspective of something that don't look like this. So, how can we grab something where everything is, Christopher Columbus, George Washington is, Abraham Lincoln. There is nothing set in place for anything for them to identify and see themselves in the education that they should be learning. So, to me, it's like, how can you, catch my attention? You know what I'm saying? I was listening to, I was going over some of your videos, and you mentioned about a proper way to approach the youth without criticizing.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I think a lot of times our elders, I mean, I consider myself a youth, even though I'm in my late 30s. Our elders seem to, pull your pants up or, talk about the certain type of music, that we listen to. Can you elaborate on those approaches?
We have to also remember there's a difference between elders and old heads, right? A lot of time we be confusing the two, right? A lot of time the people that approach the youth, it doesn't be elders. They just be old heads. You know what I mean? So us approaching the youth, we always be elder gonna approach the youth non-judgmental. You know what I mean? They ain't coming there with criticism. They ain't coming in trying to rearrange his house. They trying to get to know him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they listen to him or her to see where they're at. Because anytime you approach the youth, you have to be non-judgmental, right? Like I don't call, like when I'm engaging the youth in the streets, I don't call them gangs, right? I call them street tribes. Because when you allow the system to define people, you're gonna tend to criminalize your own people without you even realizing it. And we have to be very careful when we're dealing with the youth. Because everybody always, when they approach them, they always put them in a criminal element. They always assume that they're doing bad, that they assume that they're doing wrong or something that they don't have no business doing. Because you have a lot of youth don't move like that, but they don't talk about those youth. So when they engage the youth, they assume that this youth is dysfunctional. He's moving erratic because they might just see him do an outburst or something, instead of trying to find out why he did that outburst or why she did that outburst. You know what I mean? Because in my line of work, I found out that a lot of kids been, sexually abused, all different type of things, right? So they act out in a certain way. I found out how they've been abused by their parents, their family. And it sometimes might not be their mother or their father because they're too busy at work. And it might be an older brother, it might be an uncle. You know what I mean? It might be somebody outside the family or somebody that's within the family, or even a pastor or whatever.
Yeah.
Who the communities feel like they can trust, but don't realize the person that they gave their child to have caused more trauma than anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the thing is, like I always hear the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. But if that village is dysfunctional, then they're gonna raise a dysfunctional child.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dysfunctional plus dysfunctional produce dysfunctional.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I definitely. Wow. I definitely agree with that. Can you go into more of that street tribes? I never heard that before.
I call them street tribes, right? The reason why I don't call them gangs is because the system defines them at that, right? And when you define something as a gang, it's considered a criminal element.
Yeah.
But I call them street tribes because they're like baby street nations, right? Because when you think about a nation, right, you think about symbols, you think about a flag, you think about language, when you think about laws, you think about codes. Look at the structure of growth and development. All of them, they have this, each structure, whether it be Christian, they operate in nationhood. You know what I mean? They might not see themselves, the older heads know, but a lot of the youth might not see that they operating as a nation within a nation. Because they got ranking systems, they got laws, you know what I mean? They got infrastructure, they have all the same thing, it's the same as the colonial system that we live in have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have the same thing. You know, when you look at them as street tribes, and you can unite tribes, right?
Yeah.
You can unite the tribes and bring it to a nation. But if I call you a gang, right, you're gonna think, and you're gonna think like try to be like the Europeans gangsters, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're gonna try to emulate them, right? You're gonna emulate the worst part of them and not the good part. The good part of was that they took care of their community. but they also, the bad part is they also terrorize their communities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you study the history of the different street tribes, they never start off like that. It wasn't until the crack epidemic where all of that started. You know what I mean? That's when they left structure. A lot of the big homies, the big OGs, the generals, they left, went into prisons. You know what I mean? They were always trying to feed their own family. But at the same time, they was what you call destroying their own family at the same time. Because we don't got no boats, no planes, no ships. You know what I mean? We can't bring it in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can't bring it in here. You don't never see a New African is the plug. You know what I mean? He or the socket. You don't never see that. You know what I mean? So a lot of times if we start defining ourselves in the language of our ancestors and our rightly guided ancestors and move how the legacy have been given to us, man, that's what they feel. Think about how they destroyed how they attacked the Black Panther Party, the Black Liberation Army. How they don't like to talk about the Black Panther Party and the Vice Lords, how they came together in the meetings. There's a whole lot of history that the youth don't know and it ain't been told. You know what I mean? Because they don't sit down with the elders. What happened is that you have a lot of these old heads that sit in these places that try to act young because they trying to get their youth back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they trying to impress. They want to sag too. They want to talk. You know what I mean? They use more profanity than the youth. Yeah. They try to make it sound like it's gangster. Nah, that ain't gangster. You know what I mean? And when you give it to them in the youth in their language, when they understand, I think about it, the street tribes, when y'all don't spoke Swahili. You know what I mean? A lot of them, the Bloods, a lot of them use Swahili language. You know what I mean? So they went to organizing themselves. That's what the system fears, that we will come together and begin to network amongst ourselves, right? Because even though we all are New Africans, right? We still got different cultural backgrounds.
Yeah. We
still come from different perspectives. So we can unite, and they know we unite our diversities and recognize our diversity and unite as one. That's what they feel. Because think about it, if you bring the Crips, the Blood, all the different street tribes together in the streets, right? And say we're gonna call ourselves, just for example, right? The Black government.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna provide for our community, we're gonna take care of our communities. We ain't gonna break no laws. You know what I mean? We ain't doing none of that. We doing everything as strong Black men should do.
Yeah.
Right? And strong Black women should do. For them, to think about the Black Panther Party, they were doing breakfast. Yeah. They were doing luncheon programs. And they got attacked. You know what I mean? Here it is. In 2024, we call what you call CVI work, community violence intervention, right? We're doing the same thing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? We're doing the same thing, but only difference is the government's funding it. They didn't want us to fund it.
Right.
Because if we fund it, we begin to move independent. We strive for self-determination.
Yeah. I totally agree. Because anything that's government funded is controlled. They control it. And also, they can cut it off anytime they want to. So man, I totally agree with you on that. You spoke about the history. How do you think a way, because when I think about not only the history that you just spoke about, you know, within our community, but also all of the great people. You know, me growing up in Southeast San Diego, you know, from the ghetto, as they call it or whatnot. As a youngin', I didn't realize that when I walk outside and I cross the light, if I actually knew my history, you know, the things that we invented, I invented, people that look like me invented, I'd be able to look at that street light and say, you know what? Even though I'm in this community right here, but guess what? this traffic light right here was invented by a black man, by somebody that looked like me, which in, other words, this is invented by me because we all one. How do you think that, what's ways that to bridge that, that street knowledge, as well as the education that they're not teaching us, not only me, but teaching our young adults in school?
Me personally, that's for me, it's an obligation. That's why I always be in the youth. For me, it's not no sense of having knowledge yourself, and you ain't gonna and you're not gonna give it, right? Nowadays, it's like everybody want to charge for you learning about you. They want to sell. They want to sell the culture like it's an auction block, right? But the person that gave it to you didn't sell it to you. You know what I mean? The ancestors that died, they didn't sell it to you. They passed it on, right?
Yeah.
So I refuse to be one of those brothers, man, that's selling the culture as an auction block. Like I'm like, the only way I'm gonna give you this, I got to bottle it up and put this label on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and sell it to you. Now
Yeah.
I can't do that. You know what I mean? I believe in grassroots movement, so I believe in being out there in the trenches, giving it to the youth, but giving it to them in the language that they understand.
Exactly.
Every youth is different.
Yeah.
I can't go in there with a bunch of accolades or academia using certain terminology that I know they don't understand, and some of the adults that use the term don't even understand it themselves.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the people use it. It's like they'll tell me, like, one, for instance, they might say, man, I'm highly intelligent. I say, man, a roach is intelligent if you know what the word intelligent means. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? They try to make themselves seem more than what they is than the people.
Yeah.
Instead of loving the people, or some of our people be so much religious fanatics, right? Oh, if you don't believe like this, you don't believe like this, man, you ain't gonna evolve. Instead of that, we all know the Most High don't need food, water, and drink, right? So when he say, why you ain't serve me, why you ain't feed me, he was talking about the people. Why you ain't feed the people? Why you ain't feed? My man said he came to you and said he was hungry. Why you ain't feed him? You feel like you ain't had $20 in your pocket. You can feed him, but you had $1. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You had 50 cents. You had whatever you had. You had, or you might just had a bottle of water at a dedicate on the side in your car seat. Here, brother, that's all I got right here. You know what I mean? It ain't how much you got, it's what you're willing to give.
Yeah.
When the Most High really send it to you. The only thing we got to do is start creating liberation schools for our youth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Turn the parks into liberation schools. Turn these buildings into liberation schools and giving it to them. Then those of our people that are good with chemistry, we put them in there and we pick out the youth that's what they want. They lane. You find his interest or her interest, and you make sure you provide the resources for them to elevate. Because think about it, the person that invented the traffic light, what college you went to? You know what I mean? When you think about all our elders and people that did all these inventions, what college did they go to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So a lot of times we put so much energy into our present system, we would keep the system going. Ooh. You know what I mean? We would keep the system going. We would make the dollar powerful. The dollar only powerful because we make the dollar powerful.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And by us being like me, for some, I've been in prison. I recognized when I was in prison, when I seen a person had $20 cash behind the walls, right? And he wanted some ramen noodle soup. He couldn't trade that $20 to nobody. Nobody want, man, I can't do nothing with that. What you got beside that? When I seen that, this the same way we need to be level frequency. If we begin to operate out here amongst each other, that's what they feel. Man, you got nothing but black farmers and we shopping with black farmers.
Right.
Or we shopping not only with just black farmers, but those who have love for our people, man. You know what I mean? They're not trying to produce food to harm us. Right. But we shopping, we trading skills. Like, you might can teach your child math, so he'll give you a sack of potatoes or whatever it is that you need. You know what I mean? And we trade things. The bottom system, we go back to the bottom system. Yeah. Man, I don't want that. You know what I mean? Because think about it, in the project, that's what we did. You know what I mean? When you want the soda, your homeboy had had some of you like, hey man, I'm gonna give you that, let me get that right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we constantly did it. So now if we get back to that, if we create that circle of revolutionary love and revolutionary unity, man, we can't do nothing but unite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can't do nothing but unite and not worry about we focus too much on differences. And the differences can be a blessing. Cause I'd be glad when a brother moving how you move, right? That's the access.
Right.
Or a sister moving how she moved. That's the access.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we just learn how to, it's like we learn how to make it work together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I definitely think, you know, I spoke to some people that I know about trading, because if you trading, then we don't have to depend on that paper no more, which means that we don't have to be the biggest consumers out here. You know, all the money that we get, it goes out because, you know, what is it that we creating? Most of the stuff is made in China and bought here. Other things made in other countries and bought here. And it's crazy because, you know, we all know the richest place on the earth is Africa. So I find it interesting that we haven't, I don't want to say we haven't figured out, but a lot of times we had like all of the answers that we need is not only, you know, inside of us, but it's also, you know, within our community. Especially, you know, listening to the stuff and seeing the stuff that you're doing on your page. Like, how far back, you know, did you start doing your work? Or, you know, when did you had a mindset? You know, because I'm a big believer in mindset. If you have a mindset to achieve something, to do something, that could go a long way. So, like, when did you adopt that mindset or get in that mindset that, you know what, this is what I'm doing?
Well, the seed for me was planted when I was like about like 12 years old, 11 and 12 years old. And I had the privilege of one of my surrogate father who passed while I was incarcerated. His name was Dr. Jati Masai. Some people, his old name was like Anthony Jackson. He was George Jackson's cousin. He was a Black Panther. And he was in our community doing a whole lot of work. He's the one that introduced me to Akinyele Umoja, who was professor at Georgia State University, who wrote the book We Will Shoot Back. And he introduced me to my Sifu, who was the co-founder of Kubigan and Gumi, who also managed Tupac, who also was a political prisoner himself. Baba Watani Saimba. But he introduced me to that. Then me being in the West End around Imam, you know, Imam Jamil and things of that, right? But mostly around the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement at a young age, being a part of the New African Scouts. But of course, you know, life happens and you begin to shift, running the streets and things of this nature. But by me having just a little taste of something, it made me, even in my streets, still have certain morals, right? Because, you know, the elders, Mutulu Shakur, one of the elders that I'm with him with now, that's one of the younger BLA members, Jahab Abdul Mumit, they always did a whole lot for the people. So my elders gave me a dose of that when I was coming up, right? But when I got incarcerated, that's when they, like, I was like 17 years old. They gave me so much information. They sent me so, I was getting so many books from the county jail all the way through the prison system. Right? Because they owned a bookstore at the time called the Malcolm X Bookstore. And my elder, who was George Jackson's cousin, Jati Jackson, he made sure he fed me a whole lot of material. He made sure that he not only fed me, that I used to call, collect, and what I didn't understand, he would break it down to me, right? So for me, it was me becoming a revolutionary. He told me, he said, man, you're a new African politicalized prisoner, right? I understand your conditions. You must become a new African Islamic revolutionary. And at the time, like, man, what you talking about? Here you go with these big old, you know what I mean? But then over years later, you know, you develop into understanding, you begin to know. And one thing he told me, he said, man, don't bury yourself in the system like my cousin George Jackson did. You know what I mean? Was he never got a chance to come out of there and to apply some of the things that he learned, that he, you know what I mean? He transformed a lot of men behind the walls. But imagine if George Jackson would have been able to be released and hit the streets. You know what I mean? What California probably would have looked like now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? With mindsets of like that. So I've been blessed with a strong political lineage. Even during my culture, even when I made my little bad decision, right? They never abandoned me. They took me in, embraced me even, and hold me tighter, and made sure that when I came out, right, that I was never even thinking about going back. Because while I was in the system, as I was transforming my whole work, I had begun the process of decolonization. My whole thing was decolonizing the African minds, right? Because that's what we are, New Africans, right? Wow. So once I began that decolonization at the age of 17, my thing was to try to liberate as many of my people that's around me as I can. So I would share the books I would get. I would create little study groups. I would pass it on. It was no big eyes and no little U's. And I believe in always having teachers that look like us.
Wow. When during your incarceration time, what you call it, a African political prisoner? Was that the term?
A new African politicalized prisoner. It's different. A new African politicalized prisoner is different than a political prisoner and a prisoner of war. A political prisoner is somebody who get locked up for his politics. Let me give you an example. Mutulu Shakur, Sekou Odinga, Baba Lagoon, all of those, Baba Sunil and things of that nature, right? George Jackson, what you call a politicalized prisoner.
Yeah.
Someone who was politicized while he was locked up.
Did your incarceration time, or did that motivate the because I see you got this thing called, what is it, the Street Mediators?
Yes.
What was that birthed at?
It really, the concept really been birthed like in my head when I was behind the walls, right? But when I got out, I said I got to do something totally different. I got to do something that will represent the movement, but will represent the movement in a tasteful manner, as well as be able to teach people how to engage the youth, right? Yeah. But to be more of like an octopus, you know what I mean? Where you just ain't specialized in one particular thing. You specialize in several things.
Yeah.
So that's what my goal was to be able to street mediators to get our community knowledge itself, and to do real street mediations, man, in the streets, whether it's in the streets, the courtroom, wherever it may be, to really negotiate and to really to have classroom settings and the classroom settings for me was no matter where we at, right? We can be in the park, that's a classroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can be on a basketball court, that's a classroom.
Yeah.
And to create healing circles, man, to develop healing circles, you know what I mean, for the youth to be able to come to and be able to give the spills about their situation, you know what I mean, of what they're going through. And like, say for instance, you might have an idea, right? So they might have a beautiful idea, and I show them how you bring that idea and bring it to reality. You know what I mean? Put it on a pamphlet. You know what I mean? And you go passing that pamphlet out, but the youth see it's his idea, right? And once he sees he be like, he believe in himself. Oh yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
It instilled another level of confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, street mediator, man, I wanted to be like the vanguard for the people, man. You know what I mean? No matter where they are in the streets, in the corporate America, no matter where they at, but I want them to understand that the streets is in it, no matter where you have a building at, right? Whether it's in the church, Coca-Cola, all of it on the street.
Yeah.
Right? Everywhere you had to be, you got to go to the streets. That's why I call it street mediators.
Okay, I see.
Because You know what I mean? So no matter where you go, we cover the corners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we like your poor righteous teachers, man, no matter where you at.
Poor righteous teachers. I like that.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's all about us, man, liberating our minds. You know what I mean? No matter where we at, man. We have to be the octopus in our community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We had to be the African act. Yeah.
I want to touch on something. I want to go a little deeper on you talked about healing circles.
Mhm.
That right there is, I think that's something that's needed right now, immediately. I didn't get true healing until I was what, 31. I went to a retreat where I learned about emotional intelligence, where I learned about I had a lot of emotional illness in me that I never had a chance to process. Can you and I'm saying that because I like for you to go into more deeper to highlight that so that the people can understand. Maybe hearing you, it might click in their head to say, you know what, let's create something.
A healing circle is something, right? It's like a circle can't be broken, right? So whatever in this circle, right, we protect it. Whatever's in the middle, we protect it, right? Even when we turn our backs to each other, our backs are connected to each other. We make sure if one of our own is hurt, we make sure we do whatever it takes to protect them. It's like a chain, right? So when one of them get hurt, they move in the middle of this circle. Right? It was called the Umoja, right? We was taught this 365 degrees where you protect whatever's in the circle. Something that Shaka Zulu did. This comes from our elders, our ancestors, right? Something he did. Even as Islam, they call it the Da'ira, the healing circle. Like every culture used it, right? And whatever you have and whatever you feel like you need to let out, there's the time to let it out with no judgment. And whatever's said in this circle, it stays in this circle, right? Whatever you pull off on you, right? Whatever you let go, it stays in this circle, and you move on with it. You leave it there. It's like it's like I don't like to use the term butterfly effect. It's like a butterfly effect, like name I mentioned in the book, right? About the butterfly coming from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Right? We don't like using that effect, but like I understand, right? When you put something in the circle, you're gonna protect it, right? Yeah. So when you give your thoughts, when you share your stories, when you share with your trauma, when you share the things, it's protected. It's our job as men in that circle to protect what you just said. You know what I mean? So nobody can use this against you, but I also give you the chance to let it go, man. Yeah. To let it go. You know what I mean? To don't hold it. You don't got to hold it no more, man. Let it go. Man, dump it all right here. You don't got to hold it. We here. You know what I mean? We aid and assist. We there sometimes just to be a listening ear. Sometimes we might just say, man, just go to a room, a solitary confinement, or to a park early in the morning and listen to the birds, man, and listen to your thoughts. But let it all go. Let everything you go inside this circle, let it go, man. You know what I mean? And each one share their story, because your story can help the next person that's in that truck, that's in the circle, right? You know what I mean? And it also shows you how to address trauma, because it's something that you might went through, somebody else don't went through, right? They might can aid you in that by them just telling their story, and you can pick it. Right. You can pick it. You can pick it in here without you even telling your story. You be like, oh yeah, now I should have did this. Yeah, I should have went this way. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's all about us creating that space, man, that brave space where we can share our story, where we can share things and get it out, man. You know what I mean? It's like therapy. You know what I mean? I call it street therapy. Yeah. You feel me? And that's what we had to create.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Because a lot of times there's not a safe place, in our Black community to talk about certain things without it being, we be clowning each other, man. We be clowning, a lot of judgmental and stuff. So, we can hold things in and not want to share it because, people talk. We don't want nothing to get back out. Just if a young man is being vulnerable, it's a moment of empowerment. And I truly believe that healing circle thing that you mentioned will be a great asset, for our young boys and girls in our community. I mean, even this grown man and woman too, as well, because a lot of the times, the things that we dealing with now are triggers that we be having. It connects back to childhood and it connects back to early teenagehood as well. So man, I think that's an incredible thing, and I definitely appreciate you, even having that mindset to to even bring something like that, present something like that to our community. You mentioned being incarcerated. Can you, go into a bit about, how much time you did and what were some of the tools that you, probably learned or used? I mean, some of the tools that you gained, or learned that you using right now, with going into the community.
Yeah, that's a lot. I went to prison when I was 17 years old. I did 26 and a half years.
Yeah.
I went for taking the life of a colonizer, right? What transformed me was into it was Islam, right? What got me free was Islam, right? Because they told me that I was gonna die in prison, right? They told me I'd never see the streets again, right? But it was a book that one of our ancestors, African scholars, the Mujahid of their time, called the Shehu Uthman done Fodio. Rahimullah. He wrote a book called Tariqa al-Jannah, right? It shows you how to make tawbah, right? And me receiving the book from one of the shuyuks, the scholars, and them giving me that, and I'm reading that, me being able to follow the book to the T in the form of repentance. And because when you truly repent and having something that's a historical continuity that came from our people, right? That came from an unbroken chains, receiving something that's have an unbroken chains, right? Like I can tell you what person gave it, I can go all the way back to the author all the way back to him. To have that type of direct access and being behind enemy lines, man, was truly indeed a blessing. Because I truly know for a fact that this learning how to make tawbah, right, from my ancestors, from my rightly guided ancestors, learning what to say is what freed me from the penitentiary, right? You know what I mean? It's what literally freed me. I had my childhood best friend who also done 25 years. Her name was Karima Hanifa. She even went a law touched her heart when she went and got a lawyer for me when she got out of prison. You know what I mean? To come aid me. You know what I mean? It went just different things went to happening after I went through this book. You know what I mean? And I followed the instructions. After I made talk, I cried out to Allah and I said what he said I should say. You know what I mean? So I know I tasted it. So I know it works. You know what I mean? It worked so much to the way it scared me. You know what I mean? I was like, man, what the world? Then I went, you know how when you got something you don't tell nobody?
Yeah.
Like, I'm holding for a minute.
Yeah.
But then when I got out, I went to share with people that was close to me. You know what I mean? And some of them came home too. You know what I mean? So they was like, man, you need what you told bro. Bro told me not that he ain't gonna say. I'm like, man, when you change, you'll know. You know what I mean? Because you have to be. It's like you don't give jewels to a person, right? That ain't changed. You know what I
Right.
mean? That you know their heart is still hard and their heart is right, right? You still have to be honest, even though it might hurt you because this supposed to be your man, but you know he ain't right when he go back into the community, right? You know he'll be a cancer in the community. You know what I mean? So you have to leave people where they at. You know what I mean? And because if you don't, you want to bring a counselor. You trying to heal the community. You don't want to bring a counselor into the community, something that you brought, and somebody you trying to heal the community, right? You
Right.
know what I mean? I say that the antidote is in our rightly guided ancestors, right? Studying their works. I'm talking about I'm studying works. Even though I'm Muslim, I'm studying works of African scholars. That is an unbroken chain. The stuff that they have tried and tested, right? So to have direct access to that, you know what I mean, and to be able to sit with those who of what you call those of high knowledge, right? Of knowledge and the science and how to apply it. Because you can have information on something, but if you don't know how to apply it, then it's no good. You know what I mean? So to have that access, man, for me was a blessing, and becoming a part of the Jama'at of the Shehu Uthman done for Fodio. Here in America, we got ties that go all the way back to Africa, right? We got connection all the way to the motherland, all the way back, like physical connection, spiritual connection. We got that. So I ain't looking for that culture. We have that. You know what I mean? So now it's time for me to not treat it like it's an auction block by selling to my people. It's time for me to just give it to them, but give it in doses.
Yeah.
Don't, don't overdo it, and don't always try to correct people. You know what I mean? No, don't do this, don't do this. Sometimes you got to let them learn. As long as it ain't gonna do real harm to them, let them learn in their trials and errors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Damn, that was deep right there. You feeding me right now.
Mm.
Damn, man. I'm down there want to cry. That's wow. I'm a little lost for words right now. Damn, man. Coming from that and finally being released, finally, when you got your date and you coming home, what was that moment like for you?
Ooh, ooh. You know, my mother didn't even know I was coming home.
Damn.
So I surprised my mother. My wife came to pick me up. The same day I got out, the same day my beloved auntie, she passed, right? I never forget it because it was November 10th, 2021. So me surprising my mother, man, it was, you know what I mean? And she was like, my prayers been answered. You know what I mean? She was like, I ain't want no money. That's all I want, just you home, because I'm the firstborn, I'm my oldest child. But she said, you came home different. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, it ain't so much different. I came home being my true self. You know what I mean? To being a better human being. That what Islam did for me, made me a better human. And how I believe in having revolution of and revolutionary unity for my people, man. You know what I mean? And those who've been oppressed, no matter what nationality and guidelines they are. You know what I mean? But before I can aid and assist them, I must first aid and assist my own. You know what I mean? And I tell people I don't identify as an African American Muslim, right? I identify as a New African who's Muslim, right? And I say that because we have a right to self-determination. We have the right to define ourselves, right? And that's what our ancestors did when they fought over here in what you call the imperialistic state. They fought and they defined us. Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X wife, she was the vice president of the Republic of New Afrika. She identified as being a New African. Mutulu Shakur, who everybody knows as Tupac Pop's stepfather, he identified as being a New African. Sekou Odinga, who liberated Assata Shakur from the penitentiary, you know what I mean? He identifies as a New African Muslim. So me knowing my lineage, me knowing, and to be New African means that you strive for self-determination, you strive for independence, you recognize that you are a nation within a nation, that all our ancestors didn't go along with the 13th and 14th Amendment. Because we really understood the 13th Amendment, we wouldn't be so happy about it.
Right.
Yeah.
During your, during your time, was there moments where you thought that you was not going to come home?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I didn't think I was coming home. So everything I'm just doing behind the walls is I'm trying to liberate my people while I'm in there. You know what I mean? I'm trying to organize us while I'm in there. And I knew some of them, the ones that was going home, if I feed him and educate him, it was his obligation to get out and go do the same thing. You know what I mean? And not look back. I wouldn't tell him, brother, you got make sure you write me, make sure no. Go out there and be responsible to your community. You know what I mean? Go out there and be responsible to your family. Protect your mother, your wife, your kids. You protect your community. You know what I mean? And never stop learning.
Yeah.
Learn. Also remember that the world is a university. Never stop learning. You can learn from a homeless person. You can learn from anybody.
Yeah. True. That's true. I've learned a lot from some of everybody, but I've learned a lot of game from homeless people in Southeast San Diego. I have. And when I was doing some research, going through your page, you have this card, looked like it was like a probation card. And it said, I believe it said 1995. Am I correct? Was it 95 or 98? It had one of those.
95.
Yeah, 95. And it said, I think like probation hearing in 2014.
Now, 2009.
Okay.
When it said I would be eligible for parole in 2009, July the 6th, 2009. But I had no expiration date. I had no max out date.
Okay. Was that after you were sentenced, or when did that occur?
When I was after I was sentenced, when I went to Alto, I was 17 years old. That's the card that they gave. I never forget it. My mom still I signed at home. I ain't think she kept it, but she kept it all these years. But I signed at home and seen that because you got to kid in 1995, I couldn't fathom what 2009 was.
That's what I'm getting at. That's why I'm asking, because when I saw that and I put in my head, I didn't know you were 17. So now it's just more. It's even more devastating to me because my mind working, putting myself in other people's shoes. So I'm just like, damn, like, how did that feel? I mean, like to see that, like, damn.
Because I understood my conditions. I understood that I played in the trap and I fell for it. Because keep in mind, my elders sending me books. They training me, they grooming me, they educate me, they enlighten me. So I understood my prison condition.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I also understood the fact that it was biting, it was the cleanness and all that, what they call super predator thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when at that time people thought I was being extreme, now I began calls, I began everything. Like, brother, you weren't extreme at all. You was on point. You know what I mean? And now they see it, but so for me, I didn't think I would ever see this side. You know what I mean? My thing was to organize, educate and educate. You know what I mean? That's what I was on.
I got a question from my brother. He wanted me to ask you. He says, what message do you think the brother and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong. What message do you think the brother El Malik Hayat Shabazz, also known as
Malcolm X Malik Shabazz.
Yeah. What he says, what message, wait, let me see. Oh, what would he have for our generation today if he was alive?
Malcolm was big on Islam. Malcolm was big on us organizing, man. Us educating ourselves and reaching back. Remember that Malcolm X said that if we organize ourselves over here and reach our hand to Africa, and our brothers and sisters in Africa organize themselves and reach their hand over here, we create these new bridges. We build these new bridges. And when you build these new bridges, man, who can stop you? Yeah. You know what I mean? So Malcolm was big on us organizing the streets, man. You know what I mean? Think about it. Malcolm, when he went trying to hang in universities, but yet he was going to them. He was always in the street. He was always trying to get the message to the people, the poor righteous in the street, the poor people. You know what I mean? He wasn't trying to go to the bourgeoisie. He was trying to go to the middle class, because they weren't really trying to hear what Malcolm. They looked at Malcolm as a threat. You know what I mean? He about to mess up what we got, us good Negroes got going on. You know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. Malcolm and King existing at the same time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The Black Panther Party didn't exist till after Malcolm had got assassinated. You know what I mean? But the Black Panther Party, when they was doing what they were doing, Malcolm had been assassinated. Malcolm started the Muslim Arts Incorporated, which later became MIB, up in Harlem. His disciple, Sheikh Ahmed Afiq, I had the privilege and honor of talking to Imam Talib, who's actually the one in charge of that mosque. And I actually stayed at that mosque. I spent the night in that mosque each time I went to New York. And actually went to places. I actually went to visit Malcolm's grave twice. You know what I mean? I had to visit Malcolm's grave. I visited Sekou Odinga. I went to his janazah, his funeral, the one who was the Black Liberation Army, who was part of the National New African Independence Movement, People's Organization. He did a whole lot. He liberated South out the belly of the beast. So I had the privilege of even ride and drive him around and listen to him before he transitioned. So for me, because he was a student of Malcolm, he knew Malcolm. So to be around people that knew Malcolm, they always told me that I'm doing the work that Malcolm wanted to be done. You know what I mean? And that's in the streets, building relationships, establish relationship, organizing, and not trying to force the people to ride. Because sometimes if a person ain't there yet, you got to organize around it and keep moving. Then they'll come back later and see what you got going on, and they'll want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? But everybody ain't gonna see your vision.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody ain't gonna see your vision.
Yeah. Yeah. How was that going to go see what did that feel like to go visit Malcolm's grave?
Man, that was tears. That was a whole lot, man. You know what I mean? Because as I go visit Malik Shabaz's grave, I actually first went up there with to the janazah because they were burying our elder Baba Sekou Odinga, right? And to know who was a Black Liberation Army, who was a prisoner of war, who fought, who was I think Gaddafi was his son. One of the outlaws was his son. So me being there and a lot of Black revolutionaries that was buried in that particular cemetery, along with Malcolm, Khalid Muhammad, a lot of them buried in that same cemetery. But for me going to see Malik Shabazz, the one that sparked the Black Panther Party, the one that sparked the Black Liberation Army, the one that sparked the Republic of New Afrika, Man, it meant a whole lot. Because I never thought I'll be here doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you have to keep in mind that I thought that I would probably die in the penitentiary. You know what I mean? So for me being out, I don't take it for granted. So my job is, man, to put in the work, man.
Yeah.
And no matter what, is to put in work, man. It's to make the same sacrifice, even more sacrifices that our rightly guided soldiers in the past, who's now ancestors, and the ancestors before them did, man. You know what I mean? So it's time for me, along with many others, who picking up the torch, man, and us networking with each other and doing the work and trying to bring it from city to city.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I definitely appreciate what you're doing. One of these days, man, I'm gonna have to take a trip out there. Because I do filming, and a lot of my filming, I would like to highlight people like you, that's out here in our community, as well as experience it. But we'll, in due time, I'll be in touch with you about it. Okay, I just got a few more. I know it's late out there, man. I just got two more questions.
Okay.
And then you go do your thing. I definitely, again, I appreciate you donating your time. In one of your videos, I seen that you talked about, self-belief. Can you, I'm curious, can you tell us how self-belief contributes to the challenges and the decline within our community?
The decline comes from the trauma, man, that we don't recognize the trauma, and we think we got to understand trauma. Trauma is like, it lives in DNA, right? It's alive. You know what I mean? It lives in your DNA, right? But we got to hold the structure. We got to understand that you have what you call a structural violence, right? Mm-hmm. That the violence that our community going to is structural. You know what I mean? The things that happen to our people, that it was designed. The oppression that happened to our people, it was designed. So we have to believe that we have the gift, you know what I mean, the strength and the brains to liberate ourselves out of this chaos. You know what I mean? Out of this, because if we don't believe that, right? If we think it's gonna take somebody from an outside entity, right? Or we looking for permission from our oppressor, right? We ain't gonna never attain true liberation. And we can't think something gonna happen overnight. We got to understand that the struggle is a protracted struggle. You know what I mean? So when somebody say free the land, they don't mean you're gonna get this land overnight. You know what I mean? They don't mean that it ain't gonna be no blood being shed. They know that the work that me and you doing today, if Donald Trump become president, it can be the same work that end up back in the penitentiary. And we'll be a political prisoner, because I work on behalf of political prisoners and prisoners of war. You know what I mean? And it's one of the things that our community can't forget, our freedom fighters. You know what I mean? Sometimes we have to sit down and even write them a letter, man, and show appreciation. Say, man, I'm glad I ain't got much, man, but I just want to write this letter. I'm thankful. I don't know much about the situation. I'm trying to learn more about anything. And show gratitude, because they knew what they signed up for. You know what I mean? But self-belief is powerful, man, when you believe in yourself. You know what I mean? You got to remove all doubt. You can't have no doubt when you believe in yourself.
Right. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely right on that. Who are some of the new African prisoners, political prisoners, as well as freedom fighters that you would like to see come home, and that you believe our community could benefit from?
Oh man, all of them, man. Kamal Siddiqui, Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly known as H. Rap Brown, Chief Malik, Jeff Ford, you know what I mean? That's what, you know what I mean? We call him Chief Malik, Imam Malik, some call him. Larry Hoover. We have so many, man. The sister, Dr. After Siddiq, her, and many more, the Island Boys. It's a whole lot of, the list is long. Some of them have been free, Bauer have been free, you know what I mean? But the list is still long.
Yeah.
And if we free these freedom fighters, man, they when they come out, man, they go work because they understand they worked. You know what I mean? They try to create programs, design liberation programs to show our youth how to move and to network amongst themselves to remove the self-hatred that's been injected in us. Because that's why we war so much with each other, man, because the self-hate that we've been injected with. We was taught to hate ourselves. That's one of the things that Malcolm pointed out the most. You know what I mean? We was taught to hate everything about us. So we try to so hard to Europeanize ourselves because we were taught that European was beauty. And it's 2024, and we still have our sisters, we still have brothers trying to Europeanize themselves. And some of them even think that if they're educated, that he's trying to act like white folks. No, man, don't you know we've been educated, we've been moving a certain type way, we've been organizing. Understand that the root word to education is called educe, which to means to pull out something that's already in you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So for me, all of this stuff, man, my elders, man, I'm grateful for them. I can, and the thing about this, man, I couldn't have done none of this alone. This was all about the pleasure and the praise of Allah. You know, feel me? The Most High, who put the people, because everything go as He decreed. Who put the people that was necessary in my life, and to give me when I go through trials and tribulation, to let me be able to identify that the trials and tribulation that we're going through are nothing but lessons and blessings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not look at them as curses. You know what I mean? But I also know that, man, you're going to have to, anything worth having, you got to dig for it. You know what I mean? Even our women, man, our women got to understand that anything that's covered, man, like the diamond, how you get a diamond, you got to dig for it. It come through pressure. You know what I mean? Our women got to learn how to be covered, more covered than what they is. Because that's not our culture. We emanated European culture and not our culture. Think about the European designs. That's what we, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fashion statement. We're not wearing our culture. We always develop our own things. And that's what we got to get back to, man. You know what I mean? Self-determination, man. We got to get back to defining ourselves on who we are and not letting others define us.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. Can you tell us about Atlanta Jericho and the Atlanta Jericho movement?
The Atlanta Jericho movement, man, we here to work on behalf of political prisoners and prisoner of war, to get people to recognize that you have political prison in the United States of America. Domestically, you have political prisoners. We know you have them internationally, but you also have them domestically. To also to work on behalf of liberating them. Whatever measure, strategic strategy that we use can be used to liberate them from incarceration, to make people more aware of who the political prisoners is, and for them to encourage them to learn more about them, to write them, if they can, send donations to them, to the Jericho movement. It's a national movement, been around for a long time. I'm the chairperson of the Atlanta Jericho chapter. Matter of fact, we just had a letter writing campaign yesterday, and it went very well. I posted on my pages to show people how, and you have a lot of our European brothers and sisters. They also there on our behalf, fighting for political prisoners as well. And you'll be surprised, man. A lot of them fight harder than some of us.
Yeah.
So you know, I understand that. So you know, I don't alienate no one. You know what I mean? because a political prison is not only black, it can be Hispanic, it can be, you know what I mean, any nationality, man, based upon his politics and how he fighting and stand against oppression. Because you know this cop city thing, it's gonna be a new wave of political prisoners. You know what I mean? Even as you know, as Palestine, people fighting for Palestine, our people fighting, we standing protesting and doing all these type things, we can end up being the next political prison again. You know what I mean? So we have to keep all of this in mind. So we have to organize and we have to fight on behalf of them because they can't fight for themselves. So we have to fight for them. You know what I mean? We have to be a voice for the voiceless. You know what I mean? And be able to aid them. Even not just only them, if we can aid it, if we can aid the political prisoners' family, we should be able to do that as well. You know what I mean? All of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we does that, man. It was founded by BLA members, Black Liberation Army, the National Jericho Movement was to help other political prisoners and things of this nature. The national chairperson is Jihad Abdul Mumid. He also lived here in Atlanta. He's also somebody that I'm real close with, who was also once a political prisoner himself. So you know, we talk. I try to spend as much time as I can with the elders, and before I do things, I try to seek their advice. I go to black elders like Baba Watani Taimba, Akiela Umoja, Baba Kwame. These are elders, man, that most people read about in books, but Allah has blessed me to have, and I go to my Amir Mustafa Ahmed Baba, and I go to Amir Yusuf, the leadership in the Jama'at of the Shehu, who always been there aiding me in the street mediators work. Matter of fact, organization, they also trying to aid us in the organization I work for, Cure Violence Offenders Alumni Association. We do a lot of violent. I'm a violent interrupter as well, so I do a lot of engage in youth gun violence and things of this nature. So I try to approach everything from multiple angles because it's multiple issues and
Octopus.
that we're dealing with. Yeah, it's octopus. You know what I mean? So I'm on that daily, and I always ask the Most High to give me strength, man, and meet new people and build relationships so we can also help these political prisoners come home, man. Atlanta Jericho, man, my goal is to make it a movement that's for on behalf of the political prison that's, you know what I mean, a record to be messed with. You know what I mean? Trying to get out there and beat the pavement if necessary, do ladder ridings. So they'd be encouraged, you know what I mean, letting them know they still got people out here. Jericho have paid for lawyers, have did a whole lot, man, to get political prisoners out.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you guys for the work that y'all put in. I mean, I had no clue that all of that, you know, that it was all of that. You know, I see something else that I seen that you talk about on your page. So that's why I asked. But that's good that, you know, the people, you know, can know. Because, you know, it might be some people out there that see this that want to contribute.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You have an organization like Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, what I'm a part of. You have an organization called the Community Movement Builder. You have different orgs. Like Kwame Torre say, man, I don't care what organization you become a part of. We must organize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, last but not least, can you let the people know where to find you? You know, any social media, any websites?
You can find me on Atlanta Jericho Instagram. You can find me on my own Instagram, Mustafaa _ I think Waliuddin. You can find Atlanta Jericho, my Facebook, Mustafaa Waliuddin. You can even find Street Mediators on Instagram, Street Mediators on TikTok. You know what I mean? So you know, I'm able to find. You can also I ain't got the address from the but I inbox that to you.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah,
I'll drop all of this but below when I post it on YouTube, so that way they can just click and it goes straight to you, the organizations, and all the great things that you got going. Before we close, two things before we close out. Any messages that you have that you would like to give to our youth, to our Black community in general?
Yes, man. Don't be so hard on yourself, man. Learn to love yourself. Learn that this is a journey. This struggle is a journey. Learn that New African love is real as water. Learn that us loving ourselves, man, and embracing who we are is the key to success. And understand, man, always keep the Most High first, no matter what name that you call the Creator. He goes by many names, but always, man, keep him first, and love your family, your mother, your father, respect them no matter what. And respect your brothers and sisters in the community. Don't look at your brothers and sisters as strangers. Learn to love them, man. Learn to understand their condition, because we all have a condition. You know what I mean? And we all as a people have the same oppressor and the same enemy. We can't afford to be enemies of each other.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Brother Mustafaa. I appreciate you again for donating your time to speak with me, to speak with Act Loud, and to speak with the people. I definitely will be in touch with you to see how can I help you, as far as, with filming, what else, possibly that I can do. May have a wonderful rest of the night. And have a great day tomorrow. And again, man, thank you for all that you do out here for our youth, shit, even for us, for our adults, for our men and women, our young boys and girls, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
And thank you. All right, free land.
All righty.